Hey there, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're probably into cryptids and monsters. Well, if you have a creative spark, you can always join us in our first ever Supernatural Selection zine project. For 2024, we are doing cryptid encounters, where you can draw or write a encounter with a cryptid of your choice, and we'll put it in the zine. The current submission window is from early January to late June. If you're interested in finding out more, you can always go to supernaturalselectionpod.com/zines. That is Z-I-N-E-S. Now back to the show.
I was just waiting on you to.
Yep. Okay, hello. Welcome to Supernatural Selection, the most professional podcast in the world. This week we are brought to you by Mothman brand mothballs, the only child-safe mothballs because they're the size of a child's head.
Is this a new thing we're doing, or are we doing bits to open?
Well,
that are like scripted bits?
I figured I'd throw that in there. I'm going to start recording some fake commercials until someone pays us to stop.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, I approve.
Yep. I'm your host, Kevin Heyman. With me this week are Mike the Skeptic. Mike, how you doing?
I'm sick again.
Yep. You are one sick motherfucker.
Yeah. But, you know, it's not that bad.
Well, here's the thing. He's not the sickest motherfucker we're going to be dealing with tonight.
You know...
That's probably true.
That is very true. And speaking of sick motherfuckers, we also have Mr. David Davis. David, how are you today?
Gee, I appreciate that. I really do.
Hey,
yes.
You wrote the article about butt stuff, all right?
Yes. Yeah, I already gave Mike the warning there's going to be butt stuff in this episode. Hi, guys. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am dealing with getting that lawsuit out of the way, and other than that, I feel great, because this is not related to the show, but like there used to be a show on the Comedy Channel called Night After Night with Alan Havey. I don't know if you remember that, David. You might be too young.
I do not.
Okay, it's a talk show. It's pretty fucking good. I enjoyed it. Nick Bakay was the announcer on it. He is the voice of Norbert, I think, on Angry Beavers.
Now that I know.
Yes. And I found Alan Havey's website, sent him a message, said, hey, man, I want you to know that, like, your show was really awesome. I enjoyed it. It influences the way I present my podcast, yada, yada, yada. Thanks for doing it. And he sent me a message back.
Aw.
And he said, you know, he told me, you know, how much he appreciated hearing that. And he said, I'll see you at the Mobley Hotel. The tang is on me.
Kevin, you know this is supernatural, not a
yeah, I know, but I'm like so jazzed about it. I had to bring it up. So
that is neat. That's adorable, and I'm gonna ruin it with the subject matter.
Yeah,
tonight,
no, that's true. So let's do a little housekeeping. First off, the YouTube channel is now officially current. As of
Holy shit.
As of today, it is updated to this week's episode, which means I can start putting a bit more effort into the videos, like putting up graphics when we bring up things. It also means that the rapid-fire update pace that you may be used to is now at an end. You will be getting one episode a week. I apologize, but them's the breaks.
Until you start uploading the distraction hole. No, I'm kidding.
That may get its own channel, and you're making those videos, my friend.
Yeah, no, I think we'll keep it as an audio-only thing.
I think so. That sounds like a good plan.
You're asking me to do more work. That shit don't fly, boy.
I understand. I just take things on because I am a fool.
Yeah.
But yes, the YouTube channel is up to date. You can go check it out. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the videos are going now.
Yeah.
Secondly, the zine is still accepting, I almost said donations. We're still accepting contributions in the form of art and prose. Please head to supernatpod.rocks/zines, or just head to supernatpod.rocks and click zines at the top of the page. And you can find out all the information you need to on how to submit. It's going to be really cool. You can download a free PDF of it and print it out yourself and sell it at cons, however you want to do it. The subject, of course, is cryptid encounters. So we will be we're asking mostly for your Bigfoots, your Kentucky Goblins, your Mothmens, your Chupacabras, stuff like that.
I've also just been like looking up like really, really obscure cryptids, and I ran into some interesting ones that I'm gonna probably do some drawings of to throw in there as well. Like I'm gonna end up doing a lot of drawings for the book just because like I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just some wacky ones. I'm very excited about it.
You know what? A nice shiny nickel to the first person that submits a rock slide bolter.
There you go.
Yep. So, and lastly, butts. which brings us to today's topic. David, please elucidate us on what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, so speaking of butts, we'll be talking about yokai today.
I don't see the connection.
You
will. There will be a very intimate connection.
You're gonna make a butt connection, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. The title for this episode, by the way, is Yokai Watch.
Well, and then there's also a subtitle, but don't reveal that.
Yep.
Well, actually, no. They would have known the subtitle.
You know what it is. You saw
yes,
the
you know what
you saw
you
the
know
damn
what it
thing
is.
in your feed, but we're not going to bring it up.
Yeah. So again, we keep going on about butts, but there's some shit ahead. Quite literally.
Yes, there is.
So yeah, I've been wanting to cover yokai for a while, and just letting you know now, like everything that I do for this show, it ends up being a multi-parter in the long run.
Episode creep has happened.
So, I'm working from a number of sources, and there are so many yokai.
Yeah.
So many of them that, inevitably we are going to go ahead and cover multiple yokai in different episodes.
All right.
Also, I had a bunch of different sources. I'm working primarily from one source, from one author. I have other sources, but then, of course, I found another source that was super interesting. Couldn't really fit that in, so that'll probably be the academic portion of the next time we do one of these episodes.
Right.
So, pretty fun stuff. Very excited to get into it. So my primary source for this one is Michael Dillon Foster's The Book of Yokai, Mysterious Creatures in Japanese Folklore.
I'm kind of curious to pick that one up, given how much you used it in this episode.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. I'm really enjoying it. Very, very well researched and very well written. A lot of great pictures. There's a lot of great illustrations of yokai, and it literally has like a database of yokai in it.
That's cool.
Which is a lot of fun. I also used an essay he wrote for Japan Society, which is a journal. Another source that I used was Hirota Ryuji's Traversing the Natural, Supernatural, and Paranormal Yokai in Post-War Japan.
Cool.
And that's probably the one I'll look at more in the next yokai episode.
Okay.
There are a few other sources that I used. I'll mention them, but definitely yokai.com. Fantastic website, great illustrations. It's literally like the Pokedex of yokai.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the Museum of International Folk Art has some exhibits on yokai, and you can always look at the online material for that. So again, a lot of interesting sources here.
Yeah.
But like, I know like the red flag here for a lot of people is, okay, well, if it's about Japanese folklore, why is my primary source a guy named Michael Dillon Foster?
Some Baka guy Jin.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit, but
Sure.
no, like, it's legitimately, and the fact that other people who write about yokai reference this guy's work.
Okay. Well,
the Hirota Ryuji essay
actually,
that I looked at. Yeah, he actually cites Foster multiple times.
Oh, wow.
So.
Well,
Yeah, so a good authoritative source,
yeah.
I feel.
Well, before we go forward, Mike, I'm going to be relying on you to bring up any interesting anime stuff that I don't think of during this, because I'm sure we're going to spot some things.
Yeah, there's a lot of... I make some direct references to some anime. The two big things that I reference, though, a lot are obviously Pokemon.
Right.
And Yokai Watch, which, again, very, very fun. So
I played the demo of that game.
It's cute. It's basically like Spirit World Pokemon. It's fun.
Right.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into it with like trying to answer what exactly yokai are. So, what do you guys know about yokai?
I've always just kind of assumed it was like ghosts and monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
I mean, just Japanese folklore, They're basically a Japanese version of like Fae.
And I think you're both right to varying degrees, but I think, Mike, you were closest when you said Japanese folklore, because what we're going to see is that to label yokai as monsters and demons limits what yokai actually are.
That's why I said Fae, because it's closer to, that kind of tradition.
Yeah, and I think you're pretty spot on with that. So
good observation.
Yes. So I'm going to be summarizing heavily from Michael Dillon Foster's writing here, as it did a fantastic job of breaking all this down for me. The topic was a lot more complex than I had initially assumed, and that book really helped me out in understanding this. So Foster's work here is built on the work of many brilliant Japanese writers and researchers, and I'll mention them as they come up. But since I'm not fluent in Japanese, his writing is my best source here.
Gotcha.
Now, it's easier to begin to define yokai with a lot of cultural context. There is a tendency to consider them Japanese demons, monsters, and the like, but the reality is a little bit more nebulous.
Right.
Yokai are not just entities, but are more analogous to terminology. Terminology that has evolved over centuries as culture and circumstances change.
Like a language, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, this uncanny concept is best exemplified by the following quote. Yokai begin where language ends.
Wow, that's kind of a neat quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Foster presents an interesting scenario here. Quote, mysterious sounds, lights flitting through a graveyard, a flood that destroys one village and leaves another unscathed, a feeling that something is watching you in the darkness. How do we speak of things that are ungraspable, anomalous? What words can we use to signify things that evade established categories and seemingly refuse to conform to the laws of nature?
It's high strangeness. I mean, yokai sounds like high strangeness. There, I solved it. We're done.
And I think you're spot on with that. Like that's, I think that's pretty much a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do an episode about high strangeness itself, because it's a very unique situation.
So, with this idea of like things that evade established categories, therein lies a problem, as Western and Eastern cultures' conceptions of the supernatural and the natural can be very different.
Right. That makes sense. They've got completely different ways of looking at the world in a lot of senses.
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit. But like what Foster's establishing here is that the concept of yokai is not a singular thing like we might label in a Western sense, like ghosts or monsters or demons, but rather this kind of nebulous category of weird. For my understanding of yokai, I look at the word as encompassing the idea of the weird, which can take many forms.
Right.
Further, this umbrella concept of yokai, covering an array of phenomena and creatures, is relatively recent, as other words have existed prior. Like, this is, again, like an etymology that is building. And yeah, we are going to be talking about etymology a lot.
Oh boy!
Yep. Words are interesting.
Yeah, no, they are.
So, as Hirota Ryuhei puts in their essay, Traversing the Natural, Supernatural, and Paranormal, Yokai in Post-War Japan, quote, yokai is a word that, quote, has such a wide range of meanings, even in modern Japanese, there is a consensus that any attempt to define yokai is futile.
Well, what are we doing then?
Yeah, exactly. So that is what I get to work with for this episode.
Goddamn, David.
And that's why looking at all these terms and concepts affiliated with the eventual concept that we get to of yokai is an important step for us in this process. So let's look at the etymological history of yokai, shall we?
Why not?
So the first term, the first example we're going to look at is the mononoke.
Oh, God.
Now, this term was the equivalent of today's yokai of the Heian period, from about the 800s to 1200s.
We're going to have a lot of anime call-outs in this one. I can feel it, like I said earlier.
And one of the ones that is probably immediate to all of us listening is probably Princess Mononoke.
I was actually going to say Wings of Haname's, but okay, we can go with Princess Mononoke.
Well, okay.
That's
well, if you're a man of culture, Princess Mononoke.
It's a joke. It's a bad joke.
No, I get you. But yeah, like that name is that name for a reason,
right?
So,
Princess Ghost shit. Yeah,
kind of. Yeah. So we can see the Mononoke evoked in texts such as Genji Monogatari, or also known as the Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikabu, which is a like one of the first novels in Japanese history, I believe.
Okay.
Now, quoting Foster here, quote, direct translation of Mononoke is difficult, but mono usually refers to thing or matter, and K refers to something mysterious, suspicious, or troubling. So, like, our best translation here is just troubling thing.
Right.
So, the impression that I get here is that Mononoke invokes something sinister or uncertain, almost like the manifestation of an ill omen, almost like a lurking presence.
So, like the unseen presence or energies that lurk just out of eyesight, always waiting and watching and jumping just out of sight when you turn to look.
Yeah, I think that's the foundation to a lot of this. We're going to get to like a really interesting metaphor as we go forward.
So drug-induced paranoia.
It doesn't necessarily have to be drug-induced.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, I experience
that. We've had these moments. I think, Mike, you had the story about waking up and like the way that the LED clock
was a watch, but
yeah.
Yeah, it reminded you of eyes or something?
No, it's just a green moving blob.
Yeah.
Just,
like,
or like when you were at the what was it, the Allegheny prison?
What about that? I was
like, it was just creepy though. It was it felt creepy.
I mean, just the same way being anywhere at 2 a.m. that didn't have a you were unfamiliar with and was really old would be. I'd say that just about anywhere would feel odd if you're not familiar with it.
It's when reality becomes liminal.
Yeah.
So we have that idea of Mononoke here.
Right.
Another example of terminology that predates our modern concepts of yokai, but evokes many of the same characteristics, are Oni and the Hiyaki Agyo.
Isn't that the face Belle Delphine used to make?
First of all, fuck you, and she probably still makes that face.
I don't know. Anybody heard from her? Send us a message. Team at supernaturalselectionpod.com.
And it took me a little bit to get that pronunciation down, but yeah, it is the Hiyaki Agyo.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah. So, Oni are is like a term that's most easily translated to and known today as like demon or ogre.
Right.
In the Heian period, if you were to refer to like a threatening entity, then you probably would have gone with Oni.
Right.
So the way that I'm seeing it here at this point is that Mononoke is like the Heian term for bad vibes, and Oni is the physical representation. It's like the physical entity.
Interesting.
Like, does that make sense? Because that's the hard part about all of this.
No, it's like Mononoke is more of a ethereal, mental sort of, like you said, vibe, and Oni is like the big thing in the middle of the road with the club. Or Lum.
Mm-hmm. So then we have the again, like the term, the Hyakiagyo. It's translated to something like night procession of 100 Oni.
Interesting.
Which sounds cool as shit.
It kind of does, yeah.
But it was actually something that was forecasted by the Bureau of Divination, or the Onmyorio.
All right.
Onmyorio.
We need one of those. I want a Bureau of Divination in the United States government, goddammit.
Yeah, so around this period of time, you would actually have this Bureau of Divination, and when the vibes were, I guess, sus, it was like, oh, okay, here comes a night procession of 100 demons.
God, can you imagine if we had a national tarot society that, like, handled shit for the government?
Right. It's almost like having that Bureau of Nostradamus studies or whatever during World War II.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have done a reading for the country, and it looks like the entire country is the hermit this week.
Did you ever notice the word Hister kind of looks like Hitler?
Yeah. God, are we really going to do that? We've done that already.
So, as Foster puts it in his book, quote, when the Hyakiagyo was on the move, it was to be avoided. Suddenly, the familiar space of the city was possessed by wild, unpredictable, dangerous demons. For a short time, this world and the other world would intersect, and the usual rules of human culture were invalid.
All right, I love this because it is so similar to the Western ideas of both the wild hunt and the trooping fairies. They're both processions of otherworldly creatures to be avoided by hiding in your house and praying that Odin doesn't sing in a falsetto at your door for beer and beans.
and you're right, because there are so many parallels with what we see in Japan to like Western European culture.
Oh yeah, which well, I've got points to make about that later, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, and it just again, it just shows kind of the universality of the human experience, right. And then it makes you question why we're always at each other's throats.
Yeah.
But that's another topic for another time.
That's another podcast. But like
right?
One of the things about this is it also kind of brings to mind phantom armies, which is a whole other thing. But I just find it interesting that humans have this thing where we're terrified of ghost processions. Mike, out of curiosity, do you have any thoughts on that? Is that like a psychological thing with people, or do you think it's like what does that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
if you had to hypothesize,
I mean, processions are always for the dead, and
True.
If it's a procession of ghosts, well, that's just like,
they didn't
double
stop.
bad.
Okay, that's fair. It's for the dead or the dying.
Well,
and I also think there's usually mist and fog involved.
Very true.
And that always makes things unsettling. Like at night in particular, mist and fog can be a real issue. And then if we're talking about like the Wild Hunt, which I believe is was it Ireland or Scotland?
It's Norse, Irish, and Scottish. There are
okay,
examples of it in multiple cultures.
So even during the day, right? Like blankets of this weird otherworldly mist or fog.
Right.
You don't know what's in there.
Right. Yeah. Could be anything. That's like when I used to go to work at Rose's, and there'd be like fog so thick you couldn't see the store, and I'd be praying it just vanished in the fog. It was just gone.
Yeah, just
that's sad.
Yeah, fog's unnerving as shit, man.
It is.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike. I think I cut you off. Did you have any other?
No, that's all I can think of.
Oh, okay. I mean, again, it's like, how do all these what? It's hard to answer a question of like, well, why do all these cultures have these similar processions of the otherworldly,
right,
that intrude on their existence? And like, I have no fucking answer for that.
I do,
really.
But it's not a good one. We'll get to it later.
So, the idea of the otherworld infringing itself upon the known world was not just limited to their periods of the uncanny procession either, however. Many tales exist of places in the wild where travelers stumble into the meaning of realms, such as the case of Uji Shui Monogatari, or Tales from Uji, written in the early 1200s.
Okay.
So, in this story, a traveling monk journeys through the province of Setsu, or modern-day Osaka, and comes upon a deserted temple and plans to spend the night. So this is obviously the setup for a ghost story.
Oh, yeah, no, obviously.
So he begins praying to the deity Fudo, but his prayers are suddenly interrupted. Quote, "A crowd some 100 strong came surging into the temple, every one of them with a torch in his hand. When they got close, he saw that they were fantastically weird creatures, not men at all. They were all sorts of them, some with only one eye, some with horns, while their heads were more terrible than words can describe."
Neat.
So, the monk spends a terrifying night, surviving only because Fudo protects him. Now, after the gang of Oni finally leaves and the sun rises, the monk is shocked to discover that there is actually no temple at all. And he can't even find the path that brought him there.
Okay.
Eventually he meets some travelers who inform him that he's in the province of Hizen, hundreds of miles from Setsu.
Okay. You guys remember that scene with the old man in the tent in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where he's telling them what they need to do, and then like he starts laughing and he vanishes and the tent's gone and was never there to begin with? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just wanted to bring up that that's basically a scene from Holy Grail.
Now, doesn't that also happen with the Castle Anthrax? Like, it just disappears?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
No, that was Count Duckula's castle.
Oh, okay.
It was Count Duckula, completely different genre.
But imagine being this fucking monk, man.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just like you're...
Like, the thing that immediately came to my mind, so again, I always, like, end up referencing It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but there's this scene where the characters find a immigrant family, they break into their home, and essentially terrorize and kidnap them to do a great home makeover thing for them.
What the fuck is wrong with that show?
But it's amazing because the scene they come in and it is the most terrifying fucking thing. They've got a fucking bullhorn. "Good morning, Juarez family!" And just as these people are being kidnapped by these idiots, and that's just what I imagined with all of the fucking Oni coming into the temple. Like just, I can see the camera moves, like, closing in on the monk's face, and he's just terrified.
Oh, yeah. I've got this great idea that, like, imagine you stay in you're here, or, like, you're in Louisiana, you're in a Motel 6, and, like, a bunch of goblins and garden gnomes come trumping through your room. Jesus comes down and protects you. You fall asleep, and then you wake up in the middle of Texas.
You wake up in a Waffle House in Texas.
Yes. Okay, that's perfect. That's it right there. That's what happened to this poor son of a bitch. He woke up in the equivalent of a Waffle House.
It's just wild. So, like, yeah, you go through this, like, hellish evening, and then you like, come to, and all of a sudden, like, oh, then where the fuck is the temple? Where am I? Weird shit, man. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's actually a pretty good story.
Yeah. So, At this point so far, we have 3 terms for things that eventually all sort of get lumped into this modern concept of yokai. We have the mononoke, the oni, and the hyakuyaku. But those aren't the only terms we need to consider. Next, we have the tsukumogami.
God dang, man.
Now, the tsukumogami are what we normally see as inanimate objects given a life, sometimes granted features such as legs, arms, tails, and eyes. Much like you would have the otherworldly creatures in the procession of the oni, sometimes those mundane objects would become otherworldly.
This is the brooms from the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah, no, exactly. So what we have here is not only the threat of the otherworld manifesting in the spaces outside of civilization, but it's even infringing upon the home, which is supposed to be sacrosanct as a division between the intangible unknown and the tangible known.
Right. No, I could see
All
that.
of a sudden, your fucking sandals have eyes.
Yeah. And you go to put your foot in, it's like, yes, more.
Oh, God. And given the propensity for tongues that we're going to hear about, it's
God.
probably licking your foot the whole time, too.
Jesus Christ, David. Oh, God.
But, yeah, so it's like there's... When it comes to these things that we're coming to call yokai, there's no escape from them. Now, the presence of the tsukumogami is also interesting because it establishes a somewhat comical aspect to this procession of demons in the Heian period, with many of the scrolls at the time treating these ideas as comical or carnivalesque topsy-turvy. So you have all these like horned, one-eyed demons, and then, oh, look, it's an umbrella that's dancing along with them. Or here's a water bucket.
Right. Here's your mother's dildo.
Yeah. So it becomes this like a paper lantern. It becomes this kind of comedic thing. Like at once it's terrifying, but then as it kind of becomes ingrained into the culture, it becomes kind of like this joking thing you see in scrolls where it's like, oh, there's a procession of the paper lanterns with teeth.
Right.
Right? Just weird stuff. Now, quoting Foster again, quote, all these elements, the tension between the fearful and comic, the repulsive and appealing, as well as the emphasis on playfulness, variety, and abundance, remain influential in the yokai world to this day. And, when we start covering some of the yokai, we're going to see, like, this kind of push and pull between, like, the most terrifying thing you've ever heard and the most Looney Tunes shit imaginable.
Right.
Now, we still have terminology to go.
Oh, wow.
2 more terms to consider before moving from the Heian period to the Edo period. First is the bakemono, which can be translated to changing thing. Many yokai today are known for transformation. Now, obake, on the other hand, is a similar word to bakemono, but is preferred by children. I'm not entirely sure about the intricacies of the Japanese language here regarding this.
All right. Mike, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, given the little I know about the Japanese language. There are different words and ways of speaking depending on your social groups and social hierarchy, correct?
Sort of. No, I mean, I'm no expert. But
yeah, but like there's a way you talk to your boss and there's a way you talk to your brother.
Formality and stuff like that.
Different levels of formality. I'm sure like obake is like the Oni-chan version of the word.
Maybe.
It's like the difference between san and kun.
Yeah, I would think so, but again, we're not experts. But
yeah, and that's the thing is like I'm doing the best I can here. Like I need to download Duolingo apparently.
Oh god.
So I also need to note here that the Tsukumogami kind of fit under that larger idea of bakemono. We'll see an example of this later. So we'll find that there's like kind of a spectrum here, and a lot of these terms can be interchangeable because, again, all of this is filtering into what we now know as yokai.
Okay.
So now we arrive at the word yokai.
Yay!
which we see more frequently used beginning in the Meiji period, which is roughly the 19th century. Now, yokai is a term that is essentially borrowed language from China, derived from Chinese characters that denote mystery and strangeness. Now, we do see instances of it used during the Edo period, but more frequently the default term then appeared to be bakemono.
Gotcha.
Quote, in the first part of the 20th century, folklorist Yanagita Kunio used yokai as a kind of catch-all word in his academic writing, and in the late 20th century, it became the word of choice for the popular manga artist Mizuki Shigeru. Today, yokai appears frequently in both academic and popular writing, where, as noted earlier, it is an umbrella signifier for things we generally translate with terms such as monster, spirit, goblin, demon, phantom, specter, fantastic being, lower order deity, or unexplainable occurrence.
Goddamn. I just find this pretty damn fascinating, really. It reminds me of how there are these concepts and ideas in English that we find difficult to describe, and other cultures and countries actually have a word for them, like schadenfreude.
Yeah, schadenfreude, I love that word.
Yeah, no.
It's perfect.
There are just terms like that I feel like we need in English because we just need it.
And then, like, in that quote, just again, like, today yokai appears frequently in both academic and popular writing as an umbrella signifier for a list of, like, 20 fucking things.
Yeah, and I'm sure microwave burritos are in that list somewhere and you just missed it.
Yeah, so, again, it's just like, we're working with something that's pretty much impossible to define.
Thank you for that, David. Thank you for choosing this topic, you son of a bitch.
Now, with the etymology of the term yokai behind us, let's start kind of looking at the variety of things that fit within that terminology.
Okay.
Now, one thing to note is that there is an association between yokai and kami. What is your understanding of kami?
You lived at Kame's Lookout and merged with Piccolo to fight Cell? Mike, what do you know about Kame?
Not much. This word sounds familiar, but nothing's coming to mind right now.
Well, I know a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans are probably chomping at the bit now.
Mm-hmm. Well, kami are considered forms of gods or deities in a sense, but compared to our Western conception of a deity, they're not all powerful entities. You know, we might better consider them to be a kind of nebulous spirit, and in this sense, kami are everywhere.
You know, this kind of makes Dragon Ball make a lot more sense because, like, you know, there's Kame, and then, like, Kame has, like, all these dudes over him, and it's like, wow, there's a god bureaucracy here.
Well, and the other thing, the way that you're saying the word, I keep thinking kame, which is turtle.
Kami is what I mean. That's my bad.
Yeah, but then again, like, turtle imagery is all over fucking Dragon Ball as well.
But I'm also Southern and largely uneducated, so.
Yeah, I'm not judging you for it, but again, it's like with all these words and how different words can mean different things. Language sucks, man.
Yeah, no, it does. Yep. Fuck language.
Quote, large or striking features of the landscape, like a mountain or waterfall or ancient tree, may contain or actually be a kami. In other cases, kami may lodge in something small and local, like a boulder or a stone or a trickling creek. Kami are abundant and varied and all around. Almost anything potentially can possess a spirit.
Okay, again, with the similarities, this reminds me a bit of the spirits in Aboriginal folklore and religion in Australia. And at some point, I'm going to do some reading about that, and we can talk about it in the future, because I think it also involves, like, Min lights and Uluru, what we used to call when we were a kid, Ayers Rock. So that's a whole other topic.
It's also in the lyrics of Colors of the Wind and Pocahontas.
Oh, fuck you.
But I make that reference because, again, like,
No,
we see these kind of concepts pop up in multiple cultures.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm working as best I can here with a very challenging topic, as religion in Japan is complex, and there would be a multitude of things to address. As simply as I can explain it, the religious strains of Japan are this intersection between Buddhism and Shintoism, but even then, Shintoism isn't really a unified and institutionalized system of belief either.
Really? I've always wondered about Shintoism.
Yeah, so quoting Mark Teeuwen and Burhan Sheed here, Shintoism may be seen as, quote, a series of attempts at imposing a unifying framework upon disparate kami cults, or at creating a distinct religious tradition by transforming local kami cults into something bigger. But there's still no, like,
right. So
big, like with Christianity, you got the big C, right? Big Christianity.
Right, yes. But what...
So...
Instead of being like Christianity, let me see if I get this straight. So, like, Christianity, started fragmenting with, like, the different sects and then the denominations. So you've got all these different versions of Christianity. Meanwhile, with Shinto, you had all these separate cults that have been sort of grouped together for their own mutual benefit under Shintoism.
Yeah, it's like if you're tagging content, Shinto is the tag.
Okay, so
it unifies them.
Yeah, so it's the prom dress made of carpet samples.
Yes, exactly like your prom dress. Futurama reference, wonderful.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just this idea that you have all of these like little regional beliefs, and yeah, it gets into that idea of animism, where like elements of nature in the world have a spirit, and you acknowledge that spirit, you pay tribute to it, and that's kind of what Shintoism is.
Okay,
and that's what, yeah, and that's the religious structure of Japan. Is this kind of blend between these kind of beliefs and Buddhist thought.
Wow, I learned something.
Yeah. So Buddhism and Shinto seem to work well together. From the Asia Society entry on Shinto, quote, the introduction of Buddhism to Japan did not cause the abandonment of Shinto. Instead, the pantheons of both religions were expanded so that Buddhist figures adopted complementary Shinto identities, and the Shinto kami were thought to strive toward Buddhist enlightenment. In this way, new converts to Buddhism were not obliged to abandon their traditional beliefs, and Buddhism was able to appeal to a wide range of people.
I swear to God, this is just Christianity and pagans. It's like, hey, let's just bring them in. And it kind of...
Yeah, and that's what you do with any religion.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get a foothold of your religion, what you do is you latch on to what is already there.
Right. And I kind of feel like that's also like why we have saints and angels and archangels and stuff like that. It's because a lot of people are not ready to give up on polytheism.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So it's like, okay, well, you have all these divine figures. It's just there's one guy at the top.
Yeah, you've got...
at the top of the org chart, there's the big G-man.
So what you've got is your department managers, your assistant manager, your store manager, regional manager, and then your CEOs and such. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
So it's also important to note that kami were not inherently good or bad. Still, they could be capricious, flitting between the attitudes of Nigitama or Arantama, roughly angry and gentle, respectively.
That's the only two modes.
Yeah, well, it's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum with these things as well. But yeah, like you have, if you're dealing with an entity, a divine entity, right?
Right.
There are usually only two moods. There's like Old Testament God and New Testament God.
Fair enough.
Right? So, yeah, so, like, the thing is, like, and we find with all these things about, like, yokai, is there's always kind of, like, this little bit of a goof 'em up, a little trickster element to all of these things.
Right.
So, one interpretation of yokai suggests an interesting relationship. Yanagita Kunio, quote, the father of folkloristics in Japan, suggested that yokai are kami that have degraded over time, an idea that suggests that intimate relationship between the two.
Okay.
So if we believe that like there are these spirits invoked in everything, and if a spirit is neglected, then it may become a yokai.
Yeah, I got something to say about that later.
Okay. So there's another interesting interpretation that presents another unique connection between yokai and kami. Folklorist anthropologist Komatsu Kazuhiko has suggested that yokai are unworshipped kami, and that kami are worshipped yokai.
Right.
So, what all this suggests, as I understand it, is that the connection of the kami and the yokai is like a spectrum. In many interpretations, bad can be attributed to yokai, whereas like good could be attributed to kami. And because of the spectrum and the capriciousness of kami, they can be influenced. So, here's an example of this. Quote, one famous example of transformation is Sugawara no Michizane, which was roughly 845 to 903 BCE, a Heian period scholar and poet who was banished for political reasons to an undesirable post in Kyushu. After his death, it is said, he became a vengeful spirit, an onryo, and proceeded to cause a series of terrible misfortunes, including untimely deaths, floods, and lightning storms. Eventually, through government proclamations and the pacification ceremonies, he was deified, transformed into the kami called Tenjin-sama. The calamities ceased.
Huh.
So we have this yokai that becomes a kami.
Right.
And that's the thing is, in Japanese folklore, the yokai have interesting relationships with humans, and they're more so than like the only other equivalent I can think of is like fairies.
Right. And we'll get, yeah, that's what I was going to bring up because yeah.
Like, do you want to bring that up, or is that something you want to...
actually, it's extremely similar to some of the theories about the wee folk in Ireland. If you are even remotely interested into this, I highly recommend Fairy and Folk Tales of Ireland by Yeats. This is so similar to them because it's believed that these are the ancient Celt gods, dwindled to smaller and less powerful forms that still demand the respect of their godhood, and they're notoriously capricious in nature because they're not worshipped, but they do demand their respect. And it
just sounds so similar to what I just quoted here.
Exactly.
It's wild, man.
I know.
Wild shit.
It's really interesting to me, the idea. And also, not Douglas Adams, Terry Pratchett brought this up in the book Small Gods. In that there's, like, in Ankh-Morpork, there's a temple of the small gods that people will go and do a little bit of an offering to all the small gods to help keep them alive with some form of worship. So,
that's why you have, like, there are shrines in Japan devoted to yokai.
Right.
Yeah, it's this appeasement thing. So, because yokai are so often associated with, like, mischief or bad, it is easy to associate them with the Western concept of a monster. Yes, we can certainly associate some yokai with monstrosity, but we should also acknowledge that yokai is still very much a catch-all for a spectrum of weird phenomena as well. As such, it's tough to make a one-to-one association between yokai and a monster.
Now, I am going to say the word yokai is starting to not mean anything to me anymore. Hearing it so much, it's like the toy boat thing.
Yeah, and that's the issue with the top is I'm going to have to say that word a whole hell of a lot, but like just, again, we could probably just substitute yokai for weird or high strangeness.
Yeah.
If we wanted to. And it would
yeah.
make sense.
But we'll continue.
Yeah. So even labeling them as supernatural can present a problem, as the idea of the supernatural has an inherent religious connotation, and yokai can and do exist beyond religious concepts. So quoting Hiroto Ryue here again, quote, "We must first draw attention to the fact that virtually every construction of the supernatural is intended to contribute to defining the concept of religion." So, like, the idea of the natural is the good that is made in the Western world, like the good that is made by God.
Right.
That is the natural. The supernatural is not of his natural order.
It's all the demon stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons are Mazes and Monsters if you're a Tom Hanks fan.
Sure, okay. That's fair.
So, in fact, Hiroto Ryue's whole essay is about the journey of how yokai began to be classified as supernatural entities when they're actually a far more ambiguous idea. Wonderful companion to Foster's book, but for the purpose of our first exploration of the topic with this episode, I focused more on Foster's approach. But definitely, next time we tackle this subject, we're going to be looking at Ryuhei's article as a framework.
Right.
Because, again, it's super interesting.
Okay.
We do have a specific Japanese term for monster, and that is kaiju.
Woo!
Mm-hmm. The word even shares kanji with the term yokai and translates to strange beast.
Good word.
However, kaiju are not yokai, as they originate from the commercial as opposed to folkloric roots.
Really? Interesting. Mm-hmm. So kaiju literally is just Godzilla.
Yeah. So, any monsters that we associate with kaiju are commercially based.
Okay.
There's another term that I want to mention. We're not necessarily going to cover it in this episode, and that is the concept of yurei, or ghosts. Now, there is some crossover between the terminology of yurei and yokai, but for the purpose of our focus here, we're going to treat them as separate, and yurei are certainly worth looking at their own. Japanese ghost stories are fucking wild. I love them.
Sure, I just feel like separating the ghost and the yokai is kind of semantics, though. That's just me, though.
Yeah, no, and I get where you're saying with that, but also, like, if I started throwing fucking Japanese ghost stories into all of this...
I gotcha. It'd be like another 6 episodes or something. I know.
Yeah, do you want a 3-hour episode? Because that's how you get a 3-hour episode.
Motherfucker.
Well, speaking of episode lengths, for now, let's go ahead and take a brief pause, and we'll be back after these messages.
All right. Hi everyone, this is Kevin from Supernatural Selection. Are you an independent creator? Do you have a webcomic or an Etsy store? Do you 3D print things? Or are you just looking to get some word out for your Discordian cabal with social terrorism? Well, we'd love to help. And David, I believe you've got some details about how we can help.
Why, certainly. If you go to supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact, that is supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact, you can learn how to advertise with us.
That's right. I believe the rate is $2 per episode. You can't beat that with a stick.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, we've tried.
Yeah, that's cheap. That's literally cheaper than dirt.
Mm-hmm. And best of all, if you're not sure how to write an ad, we'll do it for you. We'll even record it.
Absolutely. Just let us know what you need in the ad, and we'll be happy to do that for you.
And again, that URL is supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact.
And now, back to the show. And we're back. So, how we feeling about yokai so far? Okay.
Again, it's a lot of terminology, and I do apologize for that.
No, I mean, I'm not, it's not a part, it's not issue of following along. Just I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on it.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have some thoughts ahead. So,
If you're gonna have a culture and come up with ghosts, simpler concepts.
So, before we dive into some iconic yokai, I want to cover one more concept, which is nurikabe. It's definitely something to help contextualize the perceived classification of yokai and the supernatural we've discussed, but I also think it fits along the lines of broader things we've covered in the show. It also happens to be a yokai, too. Again, this can be kind of confusing. So,
Yeah.
quoting Foster, quote, "Whether they call them monsters or spirits or demons or whatever, it is likely that all cultures have traditions involving something that fits what we are calling yokai. Thinking about the genesis of yokai, then, is really a philosophical problem, and it helps us explore how human beings struggle to grasp, interpret, and control the world around them."
Okay.
Now, the Nurikabe is a form of yokai, but also serves as a metaphor for how yokai emerged in culture and folklore. I'm going to paraphrase a hypothetical scenario from Foster's book here. Imagine waking up in the early morning hours when the world is dark and still and hearing scratching sounds at your window that you cannot explain. You may even investigate by opening the window, but find no explanation, just a still darkness. You return to bed, confused, and just as you're about to try to get back to sleep, the scratching sounds return. You investigate again, and the sounds vanish. This happens night after night, and no matter how much you try to investigate for causes, you find no answer. Quoting Foster, quote, "At this point, when all possibilities in the known world are exhausted, you might venture into the unknown. Maybe something is trying to contact you. Are these mysterious noises some sort of sign, a warning to leave the house?" So then the dreams begin. Little beings with hammers and claws climbing your house, making the noises that you've heard every night for days. Maybe you even give them a name, say Yanari or House Sounders. Suddenly, you have made the unknown known. The mystery can now be identified, classified, and shared. You meet someone who has experienced similar unidentifiable scratching at their house in the darkness of early morning. You tell them about the Yanari. The shared experience grows. Maybe that person heard about a similar entity and how to banish or appease it.
Okay, I know I keep bringing up, like, hey, this reminds me of blank, but, like, there's a story about, for lack of a better term, they call them, like, mine knockers in Germany. It's about, they'd be down in the mines and you would hear something knocking on the wall you're digging at on the other side, and they said it was dwarves banging on the walls. And again, surprisingly universal.
Yeah, and like when you hear this hypothetical scenario, so much just clicks into place, right?
Right.
The universality of this experience is not unique to Japan, and the concept of yokai. Still, I think looking at this idea from the more, for lack of a better term, ambiguous nature of yokai, as we've discussed, provides good framework for how cultures all over the world create these things, from demons to ghosts or UFOs and ultra-terrestrials. So much of what we've covered on the show can have similar origins to the Yanari that we just talked about here.
Right, and Jacques Vallée has some very strong thoughts about this, and if you'd like to find out more, I would start with Passport to Magonia. Again, this is the idea that all these phenomenon are the same thing, which, according to him, is like some ultra-terrestrial thing, and we all interpret it a different way, or it could be mental illness.
It could easily be mental illness. So
I have no idea what we're talking about, though.
So what about the Nurikabe?
What about them?
Yeah, what about them? Well, here's another little hypothetical scenario for you. Pretend you are a peasant woodcutter who has spent hours working hard and you are hiking home. You have logs slung over your shoulder, which is a lot of weight on top of an already very tired body. As you walk, you find yourself stopping, unable to keep moving. You just cannot physically move any further. You feel as though you have hit a wall. The Nurikabe is a yokai that represents an invisible wall, the rough translation being plaster wall. Now, imagine you are in a marathon. And I don't think either of us, I don't think the three of us have ever been in a marathon before.
I wouldn't even know how to start.
Yeah, not really.
So at the 20th mile, which just sounds terrible to me.
Oh, God.
You hit the wall. The figure of speech is you manifesting an eternal thought on an external metaphor, just as when we were tired woodcutters a moment ago. As Foster writes, quote, "The runner's experience dovetails neatly with the idea of bumping into a Nurikabe. If hitting the wall itself is a metaphorical expression, the Nurikabe is a slightly more concrete, no pun intended, metaphor in which the phenomenon is not just described by alluding to the feeling of hitting a wall, but is given its own special name and personality."
And, you know, I've heard of this wall with physical activity, but I have never experienced it due to sheer fucking laziness.
Oh, God, I have.
Really? I was about to ask, Mike.
That was last night at work when I was, being sick.
I
hit a wall. Was it last night? Yeah, it was last night.
Yeah, you were so out of it, you don't remember it was last night.
I just hit a wall, and I was like, I can't do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And there are some times where I've actually, kind of pushed through it because, I remember one time when I was a teenager hiking with my family. Not hiking, but we went to a park, and we did a lot of walking. And I'm just, gassed. I've, it seemed like... So it's so bad to the point that it seems like it's been an eternity. I've been walking for an eternity, and I'm still got an eternity to go. But I'm still, walking up this hill. And it was in Birmingham, Alabama, so it's a lot more of a hilly area than here. So,
now that you say that, I did kind of get that sometimes at the military park in Vicksburg.
But it's more of a,
Yeah. Well, I was 5, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I recall one day I had a 14-hour shift at a restaurant.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and talk about fucking hitting the wall. But no, my actual joke was going to be these days I hit the wall getting out of bed in the morning.
Oh, yeah, been there.
So we've talked about the ambiguity as to what yokai are. They're not always entities. Many can be monsters or demons, but to label them just as such is inaccurate. I think the metaphor of hitting the wall, or more to the point, hitting the Nurikabe, as Foster outlines, makes a lot of sense. The mystery is given a form that can be articulated and shared. This is the essence of yokai.
Yeah, this is also just real folkloric. This is like the old hag, being hagged, which is, you wake up with sleep paralysis, and back in the day, it's like you got the hag on you.
Yeah, so some guy talks to his buddies at the local bar. Is like, yeah, no, last night it felt like there was a wall that was blocking me, and it's like, oh, and suddenly they're spinning off a story about this invisible wall yokai, and that's what happens, and it's creating a entity and explanation for something that is an abstract or unexplained thing.
Right.
So yeah, let's
that's
talk
definitely
about
a
some
cultural
fucking yokai.
Yeah, that's definitely a cultural thing though, where you're more that culture back then at least would be way more inclined to ascribe something to is a not ghost.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, and so much of our culture comes from dudes getting drunk in taverns. Because my class, we did we did a week on Little Red Riding Hood, and I talked about its origins as a bunch of drunk old peasants, telling stories about a wolf chasing a pretty young girl. That's the origins of Little Red Riding Hood.
That's a Looney Tune.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's talk about some fucking yokai now.
Yeah, let's talk about the real ones.
Mm-hmm. So I'm mostly leaning on yokai.com here. But I have several other sources, including Foster's book, for any additional information and verification. I'd argue yokai.com is a great source, however. It's like a Pokedex for weird Japanese entities, much like Pokemon.
Right.
So, The most famous yokai, even among baka gaijin such as us, I would argue, is the Kappa.
We're such fucking weebs.
What do you guys know about
baka
the
gaijin.
Kappa?
I know they're asshole turtle guys with bowls on their heads, and also Captain from Animal Crossing.
Yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, like, I think, like, I'm not going to say that, like, most Westerners can identify, like, what a Kappa is, but
Balls
like,
on their heads, or are they like bald spots?
They have, well, David's going to explain it, but it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, like, inverted.
Yeah.
But for most people who are, like, have even a casual interest in Japanese culture, like, they know what the fuck a Kappa is.
Right.
And the Kappa is the biggest yokai we'll be talking about in this episode. I have several other yokai we're going to be talking about, but, like, as far as the heavy hitters go,
He's the famous one.
yeah. So we're not going to talk about the Tengu, the Tanuki, or the Kitsune.
Yeah, if you played Mario 3, you know about the Tanuki.
Also, I'm using the term Kappa broadly here, as there are many types of Kappa. Again, this is like a regional thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like dogs.
So, Kappa are a yokai most aligned with the element of water, and they're found in rivers, ponds, and swamps.
Okay.
Now, further, each prefecture can have their own spin on the creature, much like how we talked about all the regional variants of La Llorona in Mexico and the United States.
Or the regional Bigfoots. And that actually makes me imagine that there's like a Southeastern Bigfoot Conference football game, and I'm trying really hard not to giggle about that.
Well, imagine if they had like an American Kennel Club, but for Bigfoots.
Oh my god, the leashes would be just logging chains with fucking... Oh my god.
But yeah, I guess you could say that La Llorona is like an American yokai.
Yeah, I mean, technically, so's Bigfoot, considering he just the fuck appears all the time. But
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Yeah. So here's what we would generally recognize as a Kappa. Tell me if this description makes sense to you. A short humanoid figure with green skin, either scaly or slimy. Their hands and feet are webbed, and their faces have beaks like turtles or birds. Now, most Kappa usually have a scaled back like a crocodile, or more frequently, a turtle.
Right.
Now, by far, though, their most unique feature is the concave shape on their head, either within their head or sometimes seen as a separate saucer shape. Inside this divot is water. If a Kappa's water spills, it is said to lose its strength, or in some cases dies outright.
That sucks.
So, like that description, like you picture it, right? That's what you know as a Kappa, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen that image, several times.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about another feature. Another unique characteristic includes 3 anuses.
Wait, what?
Never heard that one in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I'm going to be able to play Animal Crossing again after that.
Despite their small stature, Kappa are said to be capable of passing 3 times as much gas as humans.
God damn it.
Now, here's my question. Is it gas by volume or gas by frequency? Because I'm assuming 3 anuses connect to a single digestive system. What are your thoughts on this?
But it's a triple wide, colon.
Like a garage. Like a 3-car garage.
Yep.
Now, see,
It's a fart warehouse.
See, I'm thinking it's volume for sure. And the reason I say that is because if you... What?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you have 3 buttholes, you have a digestive system that needs 3 buttholes.
No, see, it's by harmony. See, each butthole is a different size, therefore a different pitch.
Oh my god, do you think it's like a calliope when they fart? Here's the other thing. How do they wipe? I mean, like, are the buttholes stacked on top? Are they like a triangle? I need these answers.
Is it like a Play-Doh mold?
Oh my...
A frog doesn't wipe its butt, so, I'm assuming that it just doesn't wipe.
That's true, Mike.
They're
do you think it is
actually
like
pretty intelligent, though. That's the thing. So they might wipe.
Yeah,
monkeys don't wipe their butts, though.
Yeah, monkeys are intelligent. Dolphins definitely don't.
I'm talking about Kappa.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at, towards things in nature.
Okay.
Yeah, but the other question, of course, is, Mike, do you think it's like a Play-Doh Fun Factory?
I mean, no, because it's probably just sphincter shaped.
Okay, what if one is, in fact, the star, like your typical butthole? The other one's like the tube?
And then they have a cube one like a wombat.
Or an elder sign. Elder sign shaped poo.
So yeah, 3 anuses.
God damn.
Well, gay kappas really have the upper hand there, don't they?
It's more than a thruple. What do you call 4? A quadruple?
Wow.
Okay.
Also, the forearms of kappas are said to be connected to one another within the shell. That means if you pull one arm, the other arm gets pulled into the shell, like pulling a string through a toilet paper tube.
That's weird.
This is fucking Looney Tunes logic.
Again, Japanese supernatural monsters have a lot of weirdness, like the umbrella. I don't know if you're going to talk about the umbrella, but...
Oh, are you talking about the umbrella monster?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking about that. Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, but this is totally high strangeness. It's just fucking Looney Tunes logic imposed over our world all of a sudden.
So kappa can be solitary, but have known to befriend humans and yokai. Now, kappa are said to be very smart, capable of learning language, and know of medicine and setting bones, with many legends suggesting that kappa had taught these skills to humans. Kappa are also said to be very proud but honorable.
You know, for some reason, this making a lot of anime makes sense to me. I don't know.
Yep. However, kappa can also be complete assholes, and I don't just mean the anal triforce they have going on.
And also, are they like stacked, or are they like kind of in a configuration?
That's why I was saying, is it in fact like at the points of a triangle, or
I thought you were talking about like the Play-Doh Fun Factory shaped.
Oh no, I meant like, is it like stacked, like you were saying, or is it like one on top, or two on the sides?
One's in their hand.
Do you think a kappa with like a 4th anus is like the most desirable kappa in the group?
I don't know, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Hello from the Magic Tavern and the fact that wizards like Usador have 2 buttholes.
Well, how many buttholes did Chunt have?
He got 3.
Because he kept adding them, right?
He got 3. I don't know if they ever went to him getting 4. Chunt is a shapeshifter stuck in the form of a badger with 4 buttholes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Supernatural Selection, where we talk about other podcasts.
Did you know Robert Evans from Behind the Bastards actually has 5 assholes? No, sorry.
You know who doesn't have 5 assholes? Our sponsors.
Oh, God damn it, man.
Okay.
The products and services that don't sponsor this podcast.
So kappas are pranksters and are known for some sweet goof-em-ups. They like sumo wrestling, for example. In fact...
who doesn't?
Yeah, that's true.
If a kappa is being a dick, you can often defeat it by challenging it to a sumo match and bow to it. If it then bows, it spills the water in its head.
Oh, wow.
Fucking idiot fucking turtle goblins.
Hoisted by their own petard.
So you gonna just kill a kappa for being rude?
They do it to you.
Well, and the folklore, like if you're in an area with kappa, you nod to them in passing, and that keeps them away from you.
That's
so it's interesting. It's wild, and you could see that as maybe an extension of like putting on a friendly face, warding away bandits, maybe,
or being nice to the wee folk.
Yeah. Now, you may be wondering about this 3 anus thing. Whether that suggests something about their behavior. And it does.
That they're assholes?
That too.
Kappa are fond at passing gas at passerby.
The sons of bitches.
Crop dusting.
Yeah, no, they literally will. They hang out by ponds and crop dust people who wander by.
Oh, God damn it.
But this is not the only anal fixation of the Kappa. But we'll get to that in a moment.
Oh, do they do the thing with the fingers?
Oh, the Japanese thing where they like put their fingers together and poke you in the butthole. There's like an arcade game about that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So another thing, Kappas are said to fucking hate livestock.
What?
And have been known to attack cows and horses, usually by drowning, biting and clawing all the while.
What's their stance on hamburgers?
I could make a joke here, but it would ruin an important point ahead, so I'm going to come back to my joke in a bit.
I still don't get why they'd hate livestock.
Yeah, I again, like...
Unless it's horses. Horses are assholes.
Yeah, okay, fair. Sorry, all you horse people, but...
Yeah, they do attack
people,
cows and horses,
jerks.
so...
Yeah.
Well, and you hearing all this stuff that we've talked about, it makes you wonder, what is the situation where somebody is like, oh, well, that's what a Kappa does? Like...
Yeah, what fucking frog murdered your horse?
You know, maybe a horse got scared by some water. Someone's like, okay, it's a fucking Kappa. Who knows, man? This is wild stuff.
Well, like Batman said, horses are a cowardly, superstitious lot.
Now, Kappas are also known to pick up the kimonos of women.
Because they're perverts, like everything in Japan.
Yeah.
And more problematically, they have been known to kidnap, rape, and kill swimmers.
God, they're dolphins.
Now, we had mentioned that many yokai occupy a spectrum between bad and good, and in the case of the Kappa, appeased Kappa were pretty chill. Those who were not decidedly had no fucking chill at all.
All right, look, this entire thing, you literally just described Master Roshi. Oh my god, the shell. Dude, he's supposed to be a Kappa.
Right down to the bald dome, man.
Motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Akira Toriyama, son of a bitch.
Now, one thing I haven't mentioned here, Kappa have a love of two foods.
Okay.
The first is cucumbers.
Okay, that tracks, because Captain always sang about cucumbers. Remember that, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. These fuckers love cucumbers. And
So
the sushi
cats.
roll known as the Kappa Maki is based on this.
Now, I want to make sure everybody heard what Mike just said.
It's, they're not cats. Have you ever seen videos of cats and cucumbers?
Oh, they hate the fuckers.
It's hilarious.
Now, I do want to propose that we change the eggplant emoji to the cucumber emoji, especially since I know about cucumbers.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about the other favorite food item of the Kappa.
Okay.
Kappa also love to eat ass.
Wow, so they have 3 butts and they eat butt. They're giving the Mothman a run for his money. Ooh, the Mothman and Kappa sitting in a tree.
Well, I don't mean...
L-I-C-K-I-N-G.
Oh, God. I don't mean in the fun way.
Oh, so they eat buttholes?
I mean when they eat humans alive, they start with the anus, and in particular, they look for what is called the shirikodama, which is a fabled lump of flesh said to be found just inside the anus, kind of like a butt pearl.
You know...
Not the black pearl, but a butt pearl.
I feel like we could just end the series now. We're never going to top the butt pearl.
Isn't that just the prostate?
I do feel like that's the theory. I think it's attached to that, but I'm going to quote what is quite literally the funniest sentence ever written from hyakumonogatari.com. Quote, "You have a magic ball in your butt and the Kappa want it."
Is John Travolta a Kappa?
Probably.
I just, out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a quote from mangaka Mizuki Shigeru also elucidates, quote, "Ever since I was a child, I heard that you had to be careful in the water because Kappa would try to take my shirikodama. It was said that in the water, a Kappa would come from below, extend an arm upwards, and stick a hand up your anus to extract the ball."
What the fuck?
So we talked about the finger in the butt thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be that.
Maybe
It's entirely possible at this point. So I'm just guessing here, but I feel like the Shiriko Dama was a possible way to explain the prostate back in the day.
Here's the thing. Number one, can you imagine growing up being terrified that a turtle monster was going to reach up your butthole and pull out your butt pearl? And second, someone stuck a finger up my butt. I came, and I must have a magic butt pearl up there because otherwise I wouldn't have liked it. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that's the thing.
So when you asked earlier what they thought about hamburgers, my response would be, it depends on how much anus is in it.
They love hot dogs then.
So, Kappa shares some similarities to other entities around the world. For example, we have the Yokai of the Philippines, known to kidnap children. In Slavic mythology, you have the Vodianoi. In Western Slavic culture, you have the Vodnik. Also, of course, we have those crazy Germans and their Wassermann, Nix, or Nickel.
Now, I noticed you didn't bring up the Kelpie of Celtic tradition that would lure kids. You know, it's a water horse. And which, again, Mike, horses are fucking evil. So, they would lure kids onto their backs, magically glue them there, and then jump in a river or lake and drown them. Needless to say, I've done a lot of research on Irish and Scottish folklore over the years.
And it's funny you mentioned Kelpie because I was just watching Delicious in Dungeon and they had Kelpie in the episode.
Oh, God damn it. Don't we have a Kelpie Irish whiskey at work, Mike?
I don't know.
I think we do.
Or you did at one point.
Or it may be Selkie, which is another name for Kelpie.
This whiskey really drowns your kids.
Yep, I swear it's the best whiskey
to
ever.
drown your kids by.
Now, Kappa today have fallen more into the kawaii mascotification of many yokai.
Right.
They occupy an interesting place in Japanese lore and pop culture. For example, in some interpretations of Journey to the West, the character of Sagojo is depicted as a kappa who accompanies Sun Wukong. Usually, in a lot of variations, he's an ogre, but a Japanese interpretation is that he's a kappa.
Interesting.
Now, they also appear all over anime and tokusatsu, in everything from like Inuyasha to Ultraman.
You know, I need to watch Inuyasha.
It's good. It's fun. The 2007 animated film, Summer Days with Ku, features a cute Kappa mascot that does not try to eat the pearls out of the butts of a family.
It's very kind of him.
In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the turtles are mistakenly identified as Kappa by the Edo period Japanese people.
You are never allowed to mention that movie again, by the way.
You know what? Fuck you. I like it.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it?
I like that movie. It's fun.
Fine. You stand there in your shame being wrong. Have fun.
Of course, I need to mention Pokemon here.
Yeah, it's not the first. It's not the first nor last time.
Nope. Many Pokemon are based on the Kappa. In Generation 1, you have Golduck.
Okay.
Which, if you look at the Pokemon, the webbed feet, the webbed hands, the duck-like shape, and everything like that.
That guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And in Generation 3, you have the Lotad line, which culminates with Ludicolo, who's one of my all-time favorite Pokemon designs. Look up Ludicolo.
Not the Mudkip.
No. Just do me a favor, look at Ludicolo.
Oh, wait. That's a sombrero.
Yeah. So, like, again, Pokemon plays fast and loose with stuff. There's definitely influence of, like, Mexico in there.
Yeah.
But it's also because it collects rainwater in that sombrero.
Yeah. And yet, this thing is still somehow less offensive than the Gundam wearing the poncho and the sombrero.
Ludicolo's fantastic. I love Ludicolo.
He's no Mudkip, but he's fine.
Yeah. Now, of course, the namesake of this episode is Yokai Watch, a multimedia series featuring anime and games. Naturally, Kappa are all over it. with some of my favorite being a Japanese salaryman kappa
Oh
and
God.
Lil Kappa. Lil Kappa being known to diss people with rap and wears a golden cucumber on a chain.
He's a Kappa rapper.
This that does sound adorable though.
Like, and then the salaryman kappa is like the funniest thing because it literally just looks like a 50-year-old salaryman as a kappa.
Oh yeah, the one
carrying a briefcase.
Yeah, the one that you see on like anime, like you see in like Japanese TV shows where he's like going into the bar right after work to avoid his family and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not to avoid his family, but I'll talk about that at a different time. The social mores of why the Japanese go to bars.
Like right, yeah.
We could talk about Japanese work culture as like an entire thing.
Yeah,
on a different show.
Yep. And again, I'm glad Ari mentioned Captain in Animal Crossing because
yeah. And now you're just thinking about the fact that Captain has 3 buttholes.
3 buttholes, and I don't want to know what he does to the other animals.
At least he didn't sing about him. At least in the American
I'm
version.
going after your butt pearls.
So let's move on. Let's move on to another kappa.
You mean yokai?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, another yokai.
Kappa and Crunch.
Oh God.
The Akaname. Okay. So one thing that we're going to see with a lot of yokai is that one person's yokai is another person's manifested fetish.
Oh God, no.
Well, I'm already seeing that.
This is the case of the Akaname, the loose translation here being filth or scum liquor.
I didn't know yokai could run a clips for sale store.
No, this is the shit that would get you banned on clips for sale.
Oh God.
Yeah. These small, goblin-like yokai derive their name from the word aka, referring to the dead skin on a person's body, or more to the point, the accumulation of dead skin in the form of scum or even mildew that can be found on the fixtures of toilets and bathhouses. They are known to feature a mop of greasy, slimy hair on their heads and are usually naked. They also tend to have as much grease all over their body as their hair. As Yokai.com puts it, quote, Akaname come in many colors and varieties ranging from a dark mottled green reminiscent of mold to the ruddy pink of bed sores. They come in both one-eyed and two-eyed varieties and can have anywhere from 1 to 5 fingers and toes. All Akaname have an extremely long, sticky tongue. They use this to lap up the slime, grease, hair, and other filth found in bathhouses and behind toilets.
I've got a very clear mental image of this thing, and I've seen it in documentaries like Otaku no Video, and it makes me sad.
I'm sure you've seen one as a customer at the liquor store.
I've seen it at Walmart for damn sure.
Now, the Akaname might best correlate with vermin, such as like when they scatter like roaches when exposed to light, and they prefer like dank and filthy homes.
Of course they do.
So yeah, the scum liquor, that's fun.
Oh God.
Now, in Slavic mythology, you might find a parallel in the Banik, usually described as a small, naked old man with a long beard who occupied the sauna-like baths.
Oh God.
He does not appear to be nearly as deviant as the Akaname, though.
Oh, good.
So, like, what is the point of this fucked up toilet liquor? Do you gentlemen have any theories before I kind of get into it?
I don't know, just fucking pervs.
Yeah, I got nothing.
This is probably one of the most depraved things that we've ever talked about.
That's saying something.
Yeah. So one idea is that the Akaname is kind of a metaphor or a warning about cleanliness. It has also been theorized that there is a connection to Buddhism here.
Okay.
Supposedly, the yokai could represent preoccupation with Buddhist thought to such a degree that one lets the material world fall to the wayside. So, like, do not be so preoccupied that you forget to care for your space, as it were.
Now, Mike, you said something a second ago about the obsession.
I'm saying Japanese traditionally seem to be very cleanly-minded.
Oh, yeah, like
society.
Like, yeah, I remember reading
shoes and
Yeah. I remember somebody saying that their Japanese wife said if he cleaned his sneakers in the washing machine, she would throw the washing machine out and get a new washing machine.
And yet I recall seeing a hentai clip where a Japanese woman poops bananas from her butthole.
That's the whole thing about fetishes, right? It's things that are deemed. The nastier it is in society, the more fetishized it is.
I will also say that if someone threatened me with, if you don't wipe your ass, the greasy perv down the street is going to come lick your toilet, I'd fucking bathe after every shit.
You just feel unclean for the rest of your life.
Yep, pretty much.
And the fact that it's nude. I think, like licking the toilets, like if it was wearing something, like a little hazmat suit, I'm like, okay, well, that's just your
even
method.
A loincloth.
Yeah, like even putting a fucking loincloth on the thing.
The fact that it's licking it is just, bad.
Now, you know what sucks is, it reminds me...
Tell me what sucks about the shit-licking goblin.
It reminds me of a scene in Golden Boy.
Probably.
Japanese definitely have a fetish for toilet goings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just like, Germans and toilet goings and Brazilians and toilet. Why is it with people in toilet things? Although I answered that question already because
you kind of did.
The more taboo it is, the hotter it is for some people.
Yeah, that's like foot fetishes over there.
Yeah. Foot fetish is like vanilla.
Tame over there.
Yeah, but still, they don't like feet.
Yeah. So, how have we seen this toilet liquor in pop culture?
God, I wish you'd stop saying toilet liquor.
Aside from them being the yokai most likely to buy gamer girl bathwater.
Oh, God. Again with the Belle Delphine.
Mm-hmm. So, here's a fun fact. In 2020, Lush, the beauty brand, released a soap bar based on the Akaname. This is the product description.
I don't like where this is going.
Quote, "Don't be scared. Akaname might look intimidating, but this bath time buddy is here to leave you feeling clean and content. Just crumble this wild eye packaging-free bar under running water for heaps of happy bubbles. Then sink deep in the tub and feel uplifted and energized with a 1-2 punch of lime and Sicilian lemon oils. See? Nothing to fear but some sweet citrus-scented foam."
Yes, ladies, soak in the leavings of the horrid shit liquor. God.
I feel I want to see the moment where someone's in the bath and they've got their little toilet liquor bath bomb.
Oh God!
And then they're just on their phone and they're like, Akaname, that sounds kind of cute. Let me look it up. And just horror on their face.
That's not where I thought you were gonna go. I'm picturing those photos you see on Instagram of like some lady will be in the bath and it's a photo of their cat looking at him, panicked, and it's like he's trying to save me. It's like, okay, imagine that, but it's this horrid, greasy motherfucker looking like you done with that yet?
I'm gonna do a shirt. It's gonna be like a cute lady in a tub, and then there's like an Akaname to the side with a straw in the tub water.
Oh God, no! You're not selling it in our store.
Oh, come on.
Oh, God.
Come on. Human smoothies.
Fuck off.
Favorite.
Fuck off.
Now, so some pop culture references here. In Pokemon, the adorable Lickitung and Licky Licky are likely inspired by the Akaname. They're in the Pokedex. They're described as like cleaning things with their tongue, and you've seen Lickitung, right?
Yeah, I fucking hate it now.
Yeah. In Yokai Watch, we have, and these names are just perfect.
I hate
in Yokai
this.
Watch, we have the Tub Lappa, which can be evolved into the Grub Lappa.
Fuck that.
Now, don't really want to know about any anime that features the toilet liquor imp as a featured player, so I'm good. I think we can move on from here.
I would love to because, like, oh, god damn, dude.
Kevin's favorite thing to hate right now.
I mean, like, I've told you about the guy that I went to school with that when we were doing sex and VD education, he asked, can you get AIDS from kissing a bloody toilet seat? And, like, the whole class got quiet and everybody just slowly turned and looked at him.
That kid's name, Hiroshi Akaname.
No,
exchange student from Japan.
No, his name was Fred. And I just remember the teacher going, well, Fred, I would like to think if you saw a toilet that was that attractive and covered in blood, you wouldn't kiss it. Because you don't ask that shit unless you did that.
What the actual
Or thought about
man?
it.
Yeah. That's one of those things you hear as a kid that haunts you for the rest of your fucking life.
Well,
Let's move on.
Yeah, I had my couple gross ones here. Let's turn to some more, like, goofy ones.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about the Karakaza Kozo.
That's a lot of cuh.
The Karakaza Kozo, sometimes known as the Kaza Obake or the Karakaza Obake, is a living umbrella.
Hey, that's the one you were talking about earlier, isn't it, Mike?
Now, we've mentioned the cultural exchange going on between China and Japan and how Chinese concepts and characters have manifested in Japan through yokai.
Uh-huh.
And one of the best examples of this cultural exchange is the Karakasa Kozo.
Okay.
So this yokai is a transformer, a bakemono, as we discussed earlier in the episode. You have the whole subgenre, the Tsukumogami, accounting for household objects that become yokai.
Right.
Now, these comical yokai resemble Chinese-style paper umbrellas and feature a large eye and a long tongue. Now, they are also known to hop around on one or two legs, and sometimes they even have arms. Now, for the most part, they tend to be harmless pranksters with a penchant for sneaking up on humans and licking them. Some sources have suggested they may be an omen of bad weather.
Look, not to kink shame, but I'm not sure how I feel about this predilection toward licking with these yokai.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a lot
sick.
of licking.
It is a lot of licking.
Well, you know, what you like, you lick.
I don't know, man.
As a kid, you liked a lot of things, and you licked a lot of things.
Mike, I like you, but I don't lick you.
You're not a kid either.
Okay, but like when I was a kid, I wouldn't have licked you.
Well, the opposite of bite me is lick me.
Yeah, lick me.
Yeah. So, one thing about them and other yokai of their ilk is that there aren't exactly like eyewitnesses to them as a phenomenon compared to yokai such as the Kappa. A theory is that as yokai became a fixture of entertainment of the Edo period, there was a demand for new yokai, and storytellers began creating new yokai, with many likely being the Tsukumogami.
Okay, this is exactly like Pokemon when they had to move past the original 151.
Mm-hmm.
Like
now,
Yokaimon. Yokaimon.
Yeah.
Well, and so many Pokemon. Yeah, so many Pokemon are just like designed after yokai stories.
Well, they were. Now it's like the artist threw up on paper and drew eyes on it. But yeah.
No, a lot of them still are.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
The Pokemon that people tend to complain about most are the ones that are just basically objects.
But we're discovering that's got a basis.
Yeah, that's all Tsukumogami. So, now these yokai are also fixtures of stories about like witchcraft and haunted houses, and have appeared in all manner of yokai themed media. Like if you've watched any of recent One Piece, the character of Big Mom can put her soul into objects, and she ended up making a whole bunch of what are essentially Tsukumogami. There's like umbrellas and lanterns and brooms and sandals and that sort of thing.
Here's the thing. This umbrella thing with a witch.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean Mary Poppins is a witch? Because that makes a lot of fucking sense all of a sudden.
I always thought she was a witch.
Yeah, I always assumed that, like, she wasn't, like, a witch by name, but, like, it's the same kind of...
Okay, so...
That's a good question.
Okay, because, like, when I was a kid...
Like,
when I was a kid, I didn't have the word for it, but I assumed, like, bizarre ancient elder god come back to torment children, but...
So you see this wonderful, like British nanny.
Actually, she was good. Yeah, that's true. She was she was like Nodens, and then like Nanny McPhee or whatever her name is like Cthulhu.
What does it say about you that this wonderful British nanny who comes and gets this family to love each other again, the first thought you have is, oh, it's some sort of Lovecraftian entity?
Because her mannerisms and the authority she exuded felt like some form of deity.
Kevin, that's just British nanny for you.
Okay, see, I didn't know that as a kid, but now I still stand by my statement. She is one of the old ones.
Listeners, please weigh in on the Discord. Is Mary Poppins a witch? Yes or no?
Is she a witch or an elder thing?
Like, if she would have showed up in Britain like a couple hundred years earlier, they probably would have tried to burn her at the stake.
Because she was a willful woman.
Oh, yeah, that's true as well.
Not even the magic powers, just be like, oh, she has a thought in her head?
Yeah, she wants to do something. She's not married.
This woman looked me in the eye. Burn her.
She's over the age of 20 and not married.
Kill her.
Now, my earliest exposure to the Karakaza Kozo and yokai in general was the Super Nintendo game Pocky and Rocky.
I have never heard of that one.
How
about you, Mike? You ever heard of Pocky and Rocky?
I mean, I've probably heard of it. I'm not familiar with it. I've never played it. I can't conjure what kind of a game and what it looked like off the top of my head.
Yeah, because you say that name, I'm just picturing like Bust a Move.
Kevin imagines a Japanese confectionery and a small flying squirrel.
So it was a top-down shooter starring a shrine priestess and a tanuki as they're traveling through Japan to different shrines, and it's filled with yokai, and you have to defeat them.
I just pulled it up. I've never seen this before. It is fucking adorable.
It is a great game. They recently did a remaster of the two games.
Yeah,
and I want to get it.
Yeah, it's on the Switch.
Yeah. So any listeners want to get me Pocky and Rocky remastered?
All right. Do we need to start posting our Amazon wish lists for the listeners?
might just fucking well. You know what I mean? Okay. I'll get it eventually. But yeah,
all
like
right.
And it was my first exposure to yokai. And I didn't really understand what they were, but it was all very interesting to me.
Sure.
So, in Pokemon, of course, many Pokemon that appear to be possessed objects, such as Voltorb and Magnemite, are likely inspired by the larger idea of the Sukuko Mogami, which I think I butchered that, whatever, from which this umbrella creature fits. And in Yokai Watch, we also have a figure known as the Broken Umbrella, which appears as a two-legged inverted umbrella. So, yeah, it's like a cute little one, right? You know, it's...
it's relatively harmless besides licking.
Yeah, you got a real problem with that, Kevin.
I fucking do! They lick toilets and shit.
Not the umbrella one.
I'm talking about in general.
All yokai don't lick toilets.
But all toilets lick wait, no, that's a fallacy. Never mind.
Well, let's get into our last yokai of the episode.
Okay.
The Bake Neko.
This is going to be a cat.
It's a dumb cat.
That's Baka Neko, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Baka. So this is Bake Neko.
Okay.
So I want to leave us off with an example of one of the myriad cat-based yokai out there. So Bake Neko is translated to goblin cat, monster cat, or ghost cat, and is found in towns and cities. It's like an urban yokai. They can also be frequently confused with their two-tailed cousins, the Nekomata.
Now, before we go forward, I just want to say that I used to love Monster Cat. I would pick up new EDM artists from listening to that, so... That's a deep cut joke for some people.
So, unsurprisingly, they tend to appear simply as cats, which are all over Japan in homes, farms, and in the wild. In cases where a cat has lived a long time, it is suggested they develop powers and become yokai. In such cases, a bakeneko is most easily identified by their ability to walk on their hind legs, and sometimes their sizes, which some particularly notable bakeneko approach the size of grown men.
Jesus.
Sometimes their tails grow longer than normal, which is going to be important in a moment.
Okay.
Now, a lot of the weirdness associated with the bakeneko comes from cats being weirdos.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Like their agility and flexibility, the way their eyes can change shape and appear to glow, the fact that you could be shocked by one because of static electricity.
All right.
Yep.
I have a story about that.
Yeah.
It's winter and dry here, drier than normal in the south. So, and when I pet Ginger, sometimes I can feel, the static building up, and I'll just hold my finger out and she'll go to sniff my finger, and it zaps her on the nose.
Oh no!
And she'll like recoil, but then I'll do it again and again, and she just doesn't care. It's like
sometimes she doesn't have the orange cat brain cell.
So I just like to torment her by zapping her on the nose.
You're everything wrong with it. No, everything wrong with her is Ginger.
But she keeps doing it, and she like. If she knew what was going on, she'd be mad, but she just doesn't know what's going on.
That's fair.
I don't think it actually hurts her.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt her, it just shocks her, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Yep. So their aloof nature is another big factor here as well, as you can never quite sure if you have a cat figured out, as the numerous claw and bite marks on my arm indicate.
Oh, yeah. No,
yep.
Same.
No, I know the pain of being a cat wrangler.
Mm-hmm. I remember the time Zelda ran out the door and we had to chase her, and we spent about 30 hours chasing, or not 30 hours, 30 minutes.
Holy shit!
Yeah, 30 minutes chasing her around the apartment complex, and she had crawled under a car, and Holly distracted her on one side. I snuck up from behind, grabbed her, and I held her tight, and she bit down so hard on my finger that I was feeling that pain for like 4 days.
God damn.
Yeah, it was awful, and I love that cat, but holy fuck, what an asshole. Anyway,
yes,
a fun example of a fun example of this like weirdness of the cats in the form of bakeneko is like the bakeneko licking lamp oil, which is seen as an omen of impending high strangeness. The reason for this behavior in cats, however, is most easily attributed to the fact that fish oils were used for lamps.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say the fucking licking, but then you said that, and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. But, the image of a cat on its hind legs in the darkness of night trying to lick at a lantern is a striking one, which is another example of that whole Nurikabe thing. It's just a weird thing, and you're trying to, like, put a marker on it.
Like I was about to say, it's not just striking, but fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as powers exhibited by the feline yokai are things such as shape-shifting, speaking to and cursing humans, and possession, which has parallels in European witchcraft and superstition. More uniquely Japanese here is sometimes bakeneko can be seen wearing towels on their heads and dancing.
Like at a slumber party?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've seen the scrolls where you've got these like dancing cats on their hind legs, and some of them have towels on their heads.
Yeah, they're just having a sleepover.
Yeah.
Wow. This sounds like illuminated manuscripts.
Mm-hmm. Or, another thing they might do is manipulate mountain wolves into attacking travelers for them.
Wait.
That totally sounds like a thing a cat would do.
Yeah, fair.
Mm-hmm. So, there are, like, so many weird cat legends and folklore we could talk about, and I think we'll need to approach them like we tackled frogs at some point.
Hey, Mike, you're going to get to do cat facts.
Cat facts. Quick, Mike, give us one.
Cats are known to not ever make a sound.
I'm going to say that's false.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's some fucking bullshit right there.
But there's at least one cat that has existed that's never made a sound.
A dead cat?
No, just like, a mute cat.
Oh. That's a sad thought.
True.
Yeah, so we'll probably have to do, like, we've done frogs. I think basically we'll just end up hitting all the witch familiars with their own episodes.
Sure. Yeah.
That's basically how this is going to pan out. But
yeah, sounds good.
So for one story, for example, one story associated with the Miyagi prefecture is about a cat that shapeshifted into a human because it wanted to become a sumo wrestler. I am almost certain this is an anime. It has to be.
Look, first off, if it's not, we need to make a webcomic. Secondly, if it is an anime, it's probably going to be weirdly serious like Porco Rosso.
I want to see it, like the cat that wants to be a sumo wrestler.
The cat who walked through a sumo match.
My neighbor, the sumo wrestler.
There you go.
Now,
not neighbor, my roommate, the sumo wrestler.
There you go. That's even better.
My little sumo wrestler can't be this cute.
Oh, God, just do it with Hello Kitty.
Oh.
Hello Kitty becomes a sumo wrestler.
Hello, sumo. All right.
I like it.
Of course, superstition can have real-world repercussions. In the Edo period, cats with long tails were unpopular because of a belief that the tails could be dangerous and bewitching snakes.
Okay.
So that led to a trend of bobbing tails.
Fuck, the Manx cat.
However, it may also have influenced the evolution of cats, as Japanese cat populations are generally observed to have shorter tails beyond the introduction of the Japanese bobtail breed.
God damn.
Now, the amount of cats in Japanese pop culture is too numerous to get into.
Yeah.
In Pokemon, you of course have Meowth, among others. Meowth is special because it evokes a couple of different yokai, but the speaking ability of the Meowth associated with Team Rocket definitely leans in the direction of the Bakeneko.
No, wait a minute. I thought he learned to talk so he could get laid.
Yes, that was definitely
part of his reason for speaking. A talking cat.
A talking cat? Sorry, that's a reference to a really shitty movie. So
Yep.
Then again, that only came about once the anime came out.
That's true.
Now, in Yokai Watch, you have numerous cat yokai. The most notable being Jibanyan, which is like their mascot. However, Jibanyan, being a two-tailed cat, more closely resembles the Nekomata.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Close, but not it.
Yeah. Now, of course, this being an episode about yokai, our cute little cats can also have some darker aspects. Bakeneko were also known to have murderous and necromantic tendencies. Quoting Foster's book, some of the behaviors included, quote, turning into a human, molesting travelers, possessing people, or manipulating the bodies of the dead.
Now, when you say molest...
I believe it's molesting in the sense of, like, accosting people.
Bothering travelers, not literal... Okay, all right, good. Just want to get that straight in my head going forward.
I just remembered another video game Bakeneko reference.
Oh, yeah?
The little cat things in Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the feline. Or,
no, I'm thinking of Monster Rancher. My bad.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't remember what they're called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the little cat, the little hind leg cat dudes who
that do the
help
cooking
you fight.
And stuff. They're basically your man servants and the cat servants, I guess.
Yeah, and those have totally got to be Bakeneko. So
okay,
that's neat. So. I'd like to close this out with a famous story of the Bakeneko from the website obakemono.com, which has been archived by the Wayback Machine.
Okay.
So, a famous Bakeneko story involves a man named Takasu Genbei, who, whose pet cat of many years went missing just as his mother's personality changed completely. The woman shunned company and took her meals alone in her room, and when the curious family peered in on her, they saw not a human being but a feline monster in old lady's clothes, chewing on animal carcasses. Takasu, with much reluctance, slew what looked like his mother, and after a day had passed, the body turned back into the same pet cat that had gone missing. After that, Takasu miserably tore up the tatami mats of the floor and the floorboards of his mother's room, only to find the old woman's bones hidden there, gnawed clean of flesh.
This is very German. Like, Brothers Grimm German. Like, there's a lesson, which is fuck cats, I guess.
Well,
not literally.
as we know, don't fuck with cats
never
from the internet.
fuck cats.
So, yeah, that was the Bakeneko. So that's going to be it for now. We've barely scratched the surface of the world of yokai, but what did you guys think?
Okay, Mike is coughing. I'll cut this out. Again, I think this is really cool. The similarities between this and Western culture, given the isolation, from Western culture, can really fuel the imagination and make a person think that we're all seeing the same phenomenon with different interpretations and filters. Also, butt pearls.
Butt pearls.
Butt pearls. Mike, how do you feel about yokai now?
I just want to say, yo, Kai.
Oh,
No, but you kept saying Bakemono. I kept thinking, that sounds familiar. It's like, it is also, like in a lot of anime I've seen, if someone's going to call someone a monster, that's a term they use too. Like, when you say you monster, they say, Bakemono, like you're doing something monstrous.
interesting. I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, next time you watch an anime, just think of like when you see like a weird, funky little thing. There's probably a yokai associated with it, if they don't say it outright. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every Studio Ghibli film, there's always those little poof ball things, right?
Yeah.
Like the
And
soot sprites.
Yeah. I think those are actual yokai.
So are all the little, like, mascots in anime yokai? Like, they'll have usually the cutesy, weird, deformed animal that looks nothing like any other animal.
Like in Madoka Magica?
Yeah, or...
I think it depends. Like,
I mean, they kind of fill a yokai-esque hole.
Yeah. I mean, it's always like, because they may not be straight up yokai, but they might be influenced by it. Definitely. Yeah. Because the other thing I think about is like Japanese mascot culture, and I was wondering if like how many of those are influenced by yokai, and how many of them we would consider kaiju because they are commercially oriented.
Right.
So, one thing that I found, it's a fun and potentially disturbing game that you could play, is Google image search a yokai and see how long it takes to see a cute anime girl based on one of the ones we mentioned, which includes the Akaname.
Does not take long.
This will lead to nothing but terrible porn and pain. Do not do this. David is a horrible human being.
Well, when you were mentioning the toilet liquor one, the physical description, like going, isn't that girl from My Hero Academia?
Well, she's more based on a frog, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a...
Yeah. I know she's more frog-like, but that thing's kind of froggy, too.
Yeah, just...
If you described a human frog, it would probably look a lot like the toilet liquor.
I guess. It is gross.
We kept talking about
Kevin
how,
out.
like, the goblins would have done that, like, or was it the chupacabra that would have done, like, the noise, right?
Yeah, the chupacabra going, bleh.
I think the Akaname deserves that one.
No, I feel like the Akaname will be like,
Oh, God.
it's like this horrible, like a moan and a sigh and
It's like when you take a really nice crap.
like it's disgusted with itself and turned on by that.
You're sitting in a public restroom and you just hear the, you done yet?
Let me know when you're done. I hate this.
Just
All right.
Smacking its lips.
David, thank you for a fascinating episode. This has been a lot of fun.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to research, and we're going to do more of these for sure.
Yep. So be ready for more butthole talk. So, that being said, have we got anything we want to plug before we go? Mike, any plugs?
No plugs, but dude, I thought I had something. It's not important.
Damn it!
Well,
I was all excited. You had something.
No, I mean it was just something about one of our previous episodes.
Okay, well we'll do Weekend Weird next week, and you can give us an update. David, any plugs?
Well, if we're talking about plugs, you're going to need at least 3 of them for a Kappa.
Would you? Oh, god damn it!
Wow, yeah, the really gonna have to spend a lot on pleasure toys for them.
Oh my god!
Do you think if you plugged up 2 of the Kappa's buttholes, the pressure would increase coming out of the uncovered?
Oh, he would launch like a rocket ship, Mike. It'd be like that joke about the pig and the monkey.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Mike died.
Yep. I didn't have time to mute the microphone.
Yep, he's dying. All right. Well, look, thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, we appreciate you. If you want to learn more about the show, head to supernatpod.rocks. That is supernatpod.rocks. You can find links to our Patreon, our Discord, our blog, our stuff and things, and our social media. We are on Mastodon at supernatpod.rocks, at weirdo.network. You can find links to the rest of our accounts in that show description on that account. Again, thank you for listening. We will see you guys next time for more weird-ass shit, hopefully a little less buttholes and no toilet licking. So until then, stay safe and stay froggy. Goodbye.
Hey, baby, want to help me find my pearl?
Man. Okay, I was about to say I'm really proud of myself for remembering to say froggy, and then you ruined it with a butt pearl. I also just hate the idea of basically having a fleshy meat egg in my asshole that a Kappa wants to grab.
Well,
Like
they also said that it might have been like considered a plug for the liver. Like the Kappa's trying to get at your liver, but they have to remove that plug.
Jesus. And the thing is, it's a Kappa, so like imagine like a toddler arm shoved up your ass.
No, thank you.
Yeah, this is gross.
Because I really don't want to be turned on right now.
God damn it, Mike.
Sorry, I had to make that joke.
Fuck.